Do you know why this card is so expensive? It's because the design is so complex. Hello there, friends and enemies. My name is Toxy, and today I want to talk about something that nobody wants to hear me talk about. I'm going to open it up with some opinions of mine that a lot of you are not going to agree with me on. Mainly the opinion that card singles, if you're buying a single, should never be more than $1. Now I know this sounds ridiculous, but I would like you to stay until the end just to listen to what I talk about. Also, I should note that I'm not really going to be talking about sealed products all that much. This isn't really about the prices of sealed products. If you watch videos on pretty much any card game, you've heard it before. Card games are expensive. Normally when people say this, they don't mean the sealed products. Sealed products usually stay within a fixed price that's usually, you know, between like $4 for booster packs and then like $20 to $30 for like a big sealed box or something. With Yu-Gi-Oh, we get lucky. We actually have $10 decks, which isn't super common. I am guilty of, whenever I talk about a card game in a review, I generally say that cards, while expensive, are never as expensive as Magic. I don't want to get it twisted. I still think the prices are pretty outrageous. Now, I am, of course, not talking about discontinued card games that have been around since 2000 whatever. Games like Chaotic and Buddy Fight, I understand why those card games get expensive. It's because they are discontinued, they are no longer in print, and they are harder to get your hands on. That doesn't mean that I like that they're that expensive, and I wish there was some way to mitigate that. However, card games that are currently still running really have no reason to just be as expensive as they are secondary market-wise. And I think it would be nice to see companies like Konami and Wizards especially, although this video really isn't about them. There's nothing that I can say about Wizards that the professor hasn't said. It would really be nice to see these companies doing something to mitigate the prices of singles in the secondary market. What's my proposal, you ask? Make every card a common card, and then, if you want to have more expensive cards, make rare variants and alternate arts. The thing about this is that Konami does actually do this with Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but they don't do it well or correctly. While Starlight Rare and Collector's Rare cards are more significantly expensive than their lower rarity counterparts, there's a lot of times where these cards are not printed in a common rarity to be inexpensive. The problem that this presents is that poorer players, people that don't have as much money to play the game as they should, if they want to play a deck that's not just like a gimmicky, like, you know, a gimmick archetype, I should say, they're kind of just trapped from playing what they want. And even then, some gimmick archetypes are too expensive for some people to play. You guys remember when all of the Plunder Patrol main deck cards were like $10? Yeah, that kind of sucked. And the problem with this is that we have a way to stop those people from, you know, being excluded in the way of allowing them to make proxies. But the problem with that is that we don't allow players to play with proxies. For those of you that don't know, when you proxy a card, it's like you have a card of your own, but you want this card. So say I wanted to get Access Code Talker, but I don't have an Access Code Talker in my deck. What I would do to proxy this card is I would take a piece of paper, I would put it over a different card that I had, and I would make the closest approximation of Access Code Talker that I could, and I'd make sure that the effect is the exact effect on the card. Proxying cards is essentially just making your own cards if you don't have access to the cards that you want. And a lot of people disagree with me that these are good, actually, and I'm here to plead my case. As I said before, a lot of poorer players can't get their hands on these big cards, but they want to play with them. And being shunned out of the competitive circle because you don't have the money is kind of fucked. And I can see the argument being had of people being like, well, if people proxy, how are we supposed to know that they aren't like cheating? And there's a system in place for this. It's literally just check the cards. You have a way to check it. For Yu-Gi-Oh! Specifically, we have the Neuron app. We can look up any card in an instant. In this day and age, there's no reason to not allow proxies at tournaments other than to just alienate those people that don't have the money to get the cards that they need. But Konami, if you don't want people to enter your tournaments with proxies, why not just make common variants of every card and make them openly accessible and lower the price of singles in the secondary market? It doesn't seem that hard to me specifically, especially since we are constantly printing reprint sets in Yu-Gi-Oh! In his video on reprints, the professor poses the question, if a card is considered a staple, why is it not reprinted more often? And I agree. So to close this video out, because I've been going on for a little bit, is the way that I see it, two options. Mitigate the prices of the secondary market by making common versions of every card, and then having your rare variants to give those expensive collector cards for people that want to collect or invest in the game. Or you allow people to proxy and enter tournaments with proxy. And if you run a local game store and you aren't running like official tournaments, allow your players to proxy. It's really not the biggest deal in my opinion. If I ran a card store, which hopefully one day I could, that's what I would do, is I would allow players to proxy. But that's it. That's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to get this off of my chest because it's kind of something that's been ramping up lately, is discussion on card prices, and I wanted to throw my 2 cents into the pool, as much as people probably don't care about my opinion. But that is it for this time. I will see you next time for some more Yu-Gi-Oh! Fun. Until then, drink your water.